day 2 of the biggest, the best, and without a doubt the smartest event in marketing, e-commerce, and customer service that you're going to see this year. We've got a great program today, and what we're going to talk about now is content and the problem with content, in which you've got over 2 million blogs being produced every single day. And how on earth do you stand out with that? Well, one person who's made a career of that and has been championing the cause of content and the quality of content is our next speaker. He is the co-founder of the Content Marketing Institute and Content Marketing World, now part of the UBM family, I'm very, very pleased to say. So without any further ado, I want to welcome on stage the godfather of content marketing, the man who only wears orange, Joe Pulizzi.
Thank you. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, yeah. How are we? Good morning. A little too early for some of us? I was just talking over there. I had 2 cups of coffee. I could have used one more, but I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for being a part of this. I just came from Finland, so the jet lag's not too bad. We're going to have some fun talking about content marketing. You know, I've had an opportunity to speak in 16 countries over 400 times about this practice of content marketing, and I've learned there's one key to a successful keynote presentation. Now, you might be thinking, hey, hopefully I can get something out of this morning. Maybe it's case studies. Hopefully, you have a little bit of fun. You laugh at some of my jokes, but actually none of those are really important to a keynote presentation. It's actually setting extremely low expectations for the presentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set severely low expectations for you this morning, and all I want you to do is get one thing. I've got a takeaway slide here at the end of this presentation with 10 things that I believe you're going to take away from this. Some of them you're going to say, this one's okay, this one's not so much, but I want you to look for that one thing that you can really get out of this presentation and then take back to the office and really make something happen, make change happen in your organization. All right, I'm going to give a 5-minute opening, and then I'm going to go through some specifics on content marketing. So let's go back to when the website was created, when Al Gore created the internet in 1995 or so. It was awesome for us marketers, right? It was fantastic because we could take all our sales and marketing information and shove them up on the web. And the thought was, we're going to attract more customers because they can access all our sales, marketing, product, and service information. And then the second greatest invention ever happened, social media, right? This is awesome because we can take all the stuff that's about us, all our sales and marketing and product information, and we can shove it up, and we could tweet it out, and we can put it on Facebook, and God help us all, Snapchat, and we could put it all up there, and the thought was, this is great, because then we're going to be able to attract more customers, and it's going to be wonderful. And then what did we realize? We realized that nobody cares about our stuff, right? Nobody cares about what you have to offer. Really, only a very small portion of the buyer's journey. For the most part, they care about their own problems, their own pain points. I love this. Let's just take a snapshot of this one, because this is my favorite infographic of all time. So basically, this is why we're even talking about content marketing today, because before 1990, there were only 8 ways that consumers could get information. So that means all the power was with companies that had a marketing budget, an advertising budget, or with media companies. And now you can see there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different ways that your customers could get information, which means what? They can ignore you at will. They've got a 24/7 informational device with them at all times. You do. Maybe you have multiple ones on you right now. And you can look at whatever information you want to, and you could ignore all the product and service information. You could look up anything that you want to. So you're not reliant on a company to deliver that information. So there's been this surge toward this practice area that I've been talking about for 20 years, believe it or not, called content marketing. And this idea is, hey, how do we create valuable, relevant, and compelling information on a consistent basis in order to build an audience? I'm going to talk a lot today about building audiences and what that means. And according to the research, here's a short link for our research at Content Marketing Institute. We've got all kinds of research. We got UK-specific research, North American research. What marketers like you have been telling us is that 9 out of 10 of you do some form of content marketing. That's what you say, that you're doing some form of content marketing, which is absolutely not true. So the whole idea of this session is the myth of content marketing, and this is it. We talk about everybody's doing content marketing, but it's not true. Even though the research says that that's the case, our own research, I don't believe it. I don't believe that the majority of you out there are doing any form of content marketing. Here's another stat that'll blow your mind. 75% of you are planning over the next 12 months to create more and more and more content. please stop this. Can we not? Please, I don't want you to create any more content. I'm not a content marketing evangelist that says, oh yeah, we need more content. Why is that? Because this is why I talk all over the world on this idea. Only 30% of the marketers that we surveyed said that they were actually successful using content marketing. So even the other 70% that are not successful, that don't have any documented strategies, they want to create more content. So we have all this content clutter out there. Why are we only seeing a 30% success rate? One, we're still focused on campaigns. See it all, oh, we're going to do a content marketing campaign. Folks, there's no such thing as a content marketing campaign. Content marketing is a marathon and not a sprint. Campaigns end. Like, I really want the US presidential campaigns to end. Please stop. That's all I'm praying for every day I get up. Is it over yet? I just want it to end. But if you're looking at content marketing, we're going to solve challenges every day for our customers through information. It doesn't end. We reiterate, we change, but we don't end it. We're still talking about ourselves for the most part. We're not focusing on audience-centric content. And more than 70% of you don't have a documented content marketing strategy. That means the majority of marketers out there that are creating content actually don't have anything written down as to who the audience is, what the goals are, why we're doing it in the first place, why do we have a Facebook page. Do you know why you have a Facebook page? Some of you don't know why you have a Facebook page. A lot of people don't know why. Why are we using all those channels? So we want to think a little bit differently about why we do this. So as I was working on my last book, Content Inc., which was some of you actually received here in the front, I was like, okay, this is sad. We need to do better as an industry than this 30% success rate. There has to be a better way. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to go out and find all these successful companies out there and what were they doing with content marketing. Could we actually reverse engineer their success? So we went out to dozens and dozens of companies from all over the world. And we looked at, okay, they are very successful. They've monetized their content marketing. They're building an audience. They're printing money with this thing. And is there a way that we can figure out consistency in that strategy? And can we learn something from it? And this was the most exciting part about this, and I go through this in the book extensively. We actually found that every one of these companies went through the same 6 steps, and we call this the Content Inc. model. The timetables were a little bit different, which is why we have some overlap, but they actually went through the same 6 things. So what I'm going to go through is what this process is so you have a really good understanding of, hey, if you want to take a content marketing approach or you're doing content marketing in your organization now, you can actually insert these things into your program now so you can build an audience and be successful and not get fired, right? keep our jobs, if you will. So the first one we're going to talk about is the sweet spot. And I'm going to go through this rocket fast, and I'm sure we can tweet out the slides, but if you want to keep taking pictures, that's fantastic as well. All right, the sweet spot, first one, starts with this. On the one side, you're going to focus on what, as an organization, you're super passionate about, or a customer pain point. What's something that's just keeping your customers up at night that informationally we can talk about? And on the other side, where do you actually have a knowledge or skill area that you have authority to communicate on? So if you are in the pet supplies business and you start a blog on artificial intelligence, it's not going to fly, right? It doesn't make any sense. You have no authority to communicate that. So it has to be around something that really makes sense for your organization. I'm going to give you an example here, hopefully try to make this real for you. All right, one of my favorite examples of all time, but you'll get the point here. This is Mr. Andy Schneider. Andy is known as the Chicken Whisperer. I want to tell you the story of how Andy found his sweet spot. So, back in 2008, Andy went to a flea market. You have flea markets around here, right? Okay, goes to a flea market, he's walking down, and he sees some chickens. Chickens are roaming around. He says, he's from a suburb outside of Atlanta, Georgia. He goes to this flea market and says, I actually want to raise these chickens in my backyard. I want to take these chickens home. Makes a really important decision. What does he do first? He calls his wife. Calls his wife and says, honey, if I buy these chickens and bring them home, are you going to divorce me? She said, no, bring them home. She was cool with it. He brings them home. Puts them in the backyard. They're running around. It's a fenced-in backyard, and he's really proud of himself. And then he realizes what? I have no idea how to raise chickens. These chickens are going to die. What am I going to do? So what does Andy do? He goes to the knower of all things. Who's that? Wikipedia. Google, come on, play along with me here. Goes to Google, and believe it or not, in 2008, not a lot of information on raising chickens in your backyard. So he gets a little nervous, but was able to keep them alive overnight. Next day, gets up, starts calling all of his farmer friends, anybody who's raised chickens, goes to the library and starts researching how you actually take care of chickens. And over the next weeks, he starts to become an expert in this and really starts to get it. Chickens are thriving. Over the next month, the chickens are plump, they're healthy, they're happy. If you can tell a chicken's happy, these chickens looked happy. His neighbor looks over the fence, says, Andy, I see you're raising chickens in your backyard. Andy's real proud. He says, yeah, I'm raising chickens. They're really happy. It's great. Neighbor says, I'd like to raise chickens in my backyard too. Can you teach me how to do it? Andy's passionate about teaching. He said, absolutely. I'll teach you how to do it. Teaches his neighbor how to do it. Neighbor has chickens. Really weird area of Atlanta, Georgia, if you've ever been there, just north of Florida. So the two are raising chickens in their backyard. Pretty soon the other neighbors in the suburb, they want to raise chickens as well, and they get together, they have a meeting, and he's teaching everybody how to raise chickens, and everybody's got their own chickens. It's really crazy what's happening. And Andy says, I'm really passionate about this. I'm an expert in this whole idea of raising chickens. Maybe I can make this my job. Maybe I can make this my thing. So he puts a little note on meetup.org and says, if anybody would like to hire me to come out, I'll come and do a speech on raising chickens in your backyard. He starts getting calls from all over the United States. He starts traveling all over the U.S., giving speeches on how to raise chickens in your backyard. And he says, this is going to be a thing. I'm going to actually make this my life's passion. He creates a website called The Chicken Whisperer. He's holding a very plump, healthy chicken. Things are going, and he's like, but I have to get the word out to more people. How do I actually do this? I can't go door to door and make this thing happen. What do I do? He creates a radio show called the Chicken Whisperer Radio Show. He's got 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. He's doing the radio show, all on the idea of backyard poultry. That's what this is. That's the industry. He's got no show on Friday, but then on Monday is Peter Brown, the chicken doctor. Why is that important on Monday? Because over the weekend, your chickens might have got sick. So thank God there's Peter Brown that's going to answer my questions. 30,000 weekly listeners. Do you believe that? Did you know there 30,000 people that cared about this? Now, I'm going to share more about Andy's story at the end about how he monetized this model and diversified. But the whole idea is, how did Andy find this thing? What's the starting point and how you can make it relevant to you? How can I make chickens relevant to you? Andy's passionate about teaching. So as you think about what's our passion as an organization, Andy loves to teach. He actually has a passion for that. And on the other side, he became the foremost expert in the world on backyard poultry, this industry. So that's where we start with the sweet spot. Let me give you a bigger company example. Let's say we're targeting farmers. And on the one side, farmers, what are farmers' operational challenges? Am I hiring the right people? Am I using the right technology? Lots of operational challenges on the farm. And on the other side, let's say that we know agriculture and technology better than any company in the world. And if you can think about who this company is, it's John Deere. John Deere started their Content Inc. model in 1895. The Furrow magazine was launched at that point, targeting to farmers, small business owners, farmers. And if you said, Joe, who's the largest media company in the farming industry? I would say it's not a media company. It's John Deere. 1.5 million subscribers, 40 countries, 14 languages. Pretty powerful stuff. We went and did an interview with the print and digital publication. We went and did an interview with the editorial team there. So they've done tens of thousands of articles in the last 120 years on this thing. And we asked the editorial teams, like, how many times do you talk about your products and services in the content? Sending it to John Deere owners. Are you pitching your products? Are you pitching new tractors? I wanted to know. And John, who worked at the editorial, not John Deere, John in the editorial department, he said 15 to 20 times. I said, 15 to 20 times a year, an issue? Like, how many times do you actually pitch your product? He said, 15 to 20 times in the history of the 120 years have we ever talked about John Deere products in the content itself. I want you to think about that. That is audience-centered content. That's audience-focused. And that's what most of us don't do. We're all about the bait and switch, right? We're going to give them something really valuable, and they're going to stick in the sell at the end. John Deere doesn't do that. All right, so that's the sweet spot. Now, if you fell asleep during the first section, this is the one I want you to pay attention to. This is the one that's really important that most companies get wrong. This is the content tilt. And I want to share with you an example first, and then I'll define it. So this is Anne Reardon. Anne Reardon is known as the baking queen of Sydney, Australia. She's a stay-at-home mom, and she wanted to start a baking blog, video blog, if you will. She started a YouTube channel. She got 100 subscribers in January of 2012. She was so excited to get her 100th subscriber, and now she's got almost 3 million subscribers to her blog. This is what it looks like. She created a content brand, which is separate from your own brand as a company, How to Cook That, with Anne Reardon. Now, I want you to think about this. She has no money, no resources. How many baking videos, recipe videos, do you see every day? Anybody on Facebook here and see them? I think it's mandatory that every third piece of content has to be like one of those 2-minute recipe videos that things just appear, which I think are awesome, those tasty videos. There's so much baking recipe content out there. How is she going to cut through the clutter? How is she going to absolutely get noticed with no marketing budget, with no way to get this content out there? And here's where we all have our problem, and this is one of the myths of content marketing. We all stop at the sweet spot. We all stop at, here's the story we want to tell. We don't figure out how do we call the tilt that content. How do we find an area of little to no competition on the web that we actually have a chance to break through? Most of you are creating content that's probably pretty similar to 3, 5, 10, 20 other companies out there. And if it is, you're not going to break through unless you have a whole lot of content distribution budget behind it. So if you're talking the same things the same way to your audience, it's not going to break through. You have to find whatever that content tilt is. How did Anne Reardon find that? She did things like, how do I take 5 pounds of Snickers bars and put them into a cake? Does that look good this morning? Dive right in that, didn't it? That's good. This one was a really good example, not so much since Instagram changed their logo. But she said, how do I make a perfect replica of the Instagram logo and put it into a cake? This one went super viral, 4, 5, 6, 10 million. I don't know how many she's got on that one. But what she did was, her content tilt was impossible food creations. She wanted everyone that saw her blog or any of her content to say, how did she do that? That's impossible. That was hers. She was a qualified food scientist. She was a dietitian. She had all the knowledge. She had the area. She was a teacher as well. So she absolutely had all these. But she's like, that's not good enough. How do I break through? I've got to find a tilt. And that was her tilt. And she did this. She made this a thing. Like this, she didn't call it a content tilt, but she says, I have to talk differently. I have to find a differentiated story. So you have to find out what that differentiated story is. Now, how can you get there? All media companies, just like UBM, every time we start, and I've been on 35 to 40 different launches of magazines and newsletters and websites, every time we start a content initiative, we start with an editorial mission statement. It's standard practice. Anybody who's a journalist, who's a writer, knows that your editorial mission statement is the core to getting everything going. Brands don't do that. We don't do that normally. Like all the content things, content marketing examples you see out there, most of them don't start with a very simple editorial mission statement. We have to do this. So you can actually find your content tilt by focusing on this thing called a content marketing mission statement. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. For you business-to-business folks, which are many out there, here's an example of Indium Corporation. Indium Corporation is a global manufacturer. They're based in New York. They manufacture industrial soldering equipment. Where's my B2B folks in the audience? Okay, a lot of you, about half of you. A lot of you feel that you have boring things to talk. You don't have exciting stories to talk about. If you think that, I want you to look at this example. This is the most boring example I could find. This is industrial soldering equipment, folks. It doesn't get sexier than that, right? We're pretty excited about this one. They wanted to be the leading informational source for engineers around the idea of soldering equipment. So what they did is in 2005, they said, we can tell that story through a blog. They started a blog. They took engineers' content. They hired an editor, worked with those engineers. Anybody who works with engineers know they really need a good editor. And they started to create these blogs on a consistent basis. In 18 months from the start of it, they had a 600% increase in qualified leads. This is how they go to market now, is through their blog. They stopped doing as many trade shows. They stopped doing much of their advertising. Because you go to anything on Google, you go to social media, and you're trying to look for industrial soldering information, they're the leading experts in it. They started with a content marketing mission statement. It's very simple, and I simplified this for you so you could get it. Helping engineers answer the most challenging industrial soldering questions. They're talking to engineers. They're not talking to plant managers. They're not talking to CFOs, just engineers. What are we trying to do? Answer the most challenging industrial soldering questions. We're not talking about siding. We're not talking about ball bearings. This is it. They can be the leading experts in the world at that. Really important here, folks. One audience at a time. If you're targeting more than one audience at a time, you will never, ever be relevant enough. Most of the time when we go in and we'll do a content audit of a large enterprise, we work with mostly large billion-dollar companies, they try to target more than one audience at a time. You never can be relevant if you do that. There's too much competition out there. One at a time. And if you're saying, oh, what if I want to do a content marketing initiative with more than one audience? Yes, you're reading that right. You need 2 of these or 3 of these. I started work at Pent Media in 2000. We had 50 different publications, content brands. We had 50 different editorial mission statements. Sorry, that's the bad news. We actually have to do the work and make this work. Let me break this down. Digital Photography School has a great content marketing mission statement right on their site. It says, welcome to Digital Photography School, a website with simple tips to help digital camera owners get the most out of their cameras. There's 3 parts. These are the 3 parts that you need for your content marketing mission statement. One is, who's the core target audience? Digital camera owners. What are we going to deliver? Simple tips, not long-form content, very simple. 3, the most important, what is the outcome for the audience? Helping them get the most out of their cameras. It's not rocket science, folks, right? Super easy. Nobody does this. You print this out. I hope you print it out, or digitally if you want to give it to you. Everyone that creates content for you should have this in front of them before they create it. This is like their content brief. So you will save so much money in editing costs because they actually understand who they're talking to and what the outcome is. And if you have a content marketing calendar, an editorial calendar, add audience outcome to that. Here's the content we're creating a blog post. Here's the content. Here's who's responsible to edit it. Here's the search keywords. Add outcome. What's in it for the audience? You're trying to help them get better jobs, live better lives. What are you trying to do? Really, really important to make this happen. So when you go back, don't do it today. I want you to get your mission statement. If you already started some content things, go back and do this. It's really important. It'll really help crystallize your tilt. Define your audience. What are you going to deliver? What's the ultimate outcome? All right, folks, we haven't created any content yet, right? This is all just building the strategy. Most of the time when we go into a company, they say, oh, I want to do a blog. I want to do content on Snapchat. They start with down at step 7. And we actually want to figure out, is this the right thing? Should we actually be doing this? Now we're going to build the base. And what the amazing thing is that every case study we looked at, every successful case study, I thought that we would see different things, like publishing in different channels in different ways. Nope. Everybody did the same thing. This is it. Everyone did the exact same thing. To create their audience, they said that for the most part, they started with one content type. Was it audio? Is it video? Is it textual plus image? One main platform. Is it iTunes? Is it YouTube? Is it my blogger website? Consistent delivery, and I mean to the minute. If they do 3 blog posts a week, they did it Monday at 7, Wednesday at 7, Friday at 7, not 7:01, not 6:59, just like a media company would. They deliver on time all the time and the long period of time. Here's where you might not be happy. The average from start to monetization was 12 to 18 months. So if you say, Joe, I like this content marketing thing, I want to do it, I got 6 months, I'd say, go interrupt people, go buy lots of advertising. Don't do content marketing. It takes longer than 6 months to create a loyal relationship with an audience. So if you're on a time crunch, this is not going to help you. If you want to build a long-term asset, which is the audience, it's going to be really powerful. You got to wait. You got to wait. Let me give you some examples. Copyblogger, those of you who might know Copyblogger. Brian Clark started Copyblogger in 2006. He started blogging 19 months. Monday through Friday, he blogged on stuff like this: online copywriting, search engine optimization. Didn't sell a thing, folks. All he did was blog, and he created an email newsletter. And over that time, he had over 100,000 people sign up to get his content and say, yes, I would like to receive your content via email newsletter. Today, he's one of the fastest growing software as a service companies in the world. Why? because he's already got the database. He already built 100,000 plus of a pre-customer database before launching. Took him 19 months to do that, but Blogger website was his blog was a platform, textual plus image content, consistently delivered 5 days a week, over time took him 19 months. For a big company example, I love CMO.com from Adobe. If you've seen that, they've been doing this now for 7 or 8 years. Same thing, same exact formula as Brian Clark. Jyske Bank TV, Jyske Bank, one of the largest banks in Denmark. They created a video channel. They actually have a tagline that says, "We are the only media company with its own bank." They actually have this as their tagline. This is inside the bank, folks. And they've created such an amazing audience that the soccer, football, depending on where you're coming from, the football organizations that used to charge them to sponsor, they don't charge them any money anymore. They let them in for free because they want them to cover the event like a media company. How's that for value? Same thing, video content every day on their own platform, consistently delivered. Took them about 24 months to really see an impact. So again, you have to have executive support. You have to be patient with it. Here's an audio example for those entrepreneurs out there. This is John Lee Dumas, created Entrepreneur on Fire. I was guest number 1154 on his show. 1,154 days in a row. Up to that point, he delivered a podcast at 3:30 in the morning Eastern time every day. He's now a multimillionaire on a beach somewhere having fun, sipping some drink with an umbrella or something like that. What's amazing, by the way, he recorded them all on Sundays. So he didn't do any recording, no content creation Monday through Saturday. He recorded them all on Sundays as he went. He's taking his hundreds of thousands of iTunes subscribers, moving them to email subscribers. We'll talk about that in a second. Millions of downloads, but same thing. Audio content on iTunes was his core platform, daily delivery over time. This is the short example we could find to real monetization, 9 months. That's the shortest I've ever found. But it's the same thing. This is it. So where we do it wrong as marketers is we're like, oh, we got a great story we want to tell. We're going to put it on SlideShare and LinkedIn and Facebook, and we're going to do a video series on YouTube. It's going to be great. We're doing it wrong. This, by the way, is how every major media company that you can name ever has followed this model. Whether you look at the Financial Times, whether you look at the New York Times, whether you look at ESPN, they've all done the same thing. One content type, one platform, consistently delivered over time. We'll talk about diversification in a second. All right. Still with me? We're good? All right. Coming on the home stretch, we got 3 more. Harvesting the audience is the next step because we've got to build an audience. That's the asset. I'm going to go on my rant here about social media. I love social. I use social a lot. I love Twitter. I love LinkedIn. Not so sure about Facebook yet. But let me use Cisco Systems. You know, one of the biggest companies in the world, biggest brands in the world. Cisco here has done a great job. They have 737,000 people that like this page. Spent millions of dollars getting all those people to like that page. If the social media manager for Cisco Systems, you're not here, are you? Are you here? Writes an update here, puts post. As a percentage, how many people are going to see that update as a percentage? Just yell it out. 1%. And another guess? 3%? 2 or something percent? I had less than that. I actually had somebody, I did this part of the presentation a couple weeks ago in Iowa, believe it or not, and the guy said, 90%. And I said, you're selling positive, my friend. I was like, come on, you could be my sales guy. You really believe this stuff. Less than 1%, way less than 1%. Didn't always used to be that way, right? Facebook, we used to be able to publish as brands on Facebook, build an audience, and we had access to that audience. And then Facebook made this revolutionary decision. What was it? They wanted to make money. So what did they do? They said, oh, we're not going to give access to that audience, and you're going to have to pay for it. And you all came through with flying colors. And now Facebook is maybe one of the most profitable companies we've ever seen, and revenue growth that I've never seen in my lifetime, maybe except for Google, Facebook, right? So we can't control. We're building audiences on platforms we have no control over. Let's look at Google+. Google doesn't even know what they're doing with Google+. You know it's true, right? So we're building, Starbucks here has 3 million followers. What's that going to do them? Because tomorrow Google could shut the whole thing down, could change the rules entirely. So we're building our audiences and on platforms that we have that's no asset. We can't build that asset. We're building our content on rented land, if you will. We don't want to do that. So what do I want you to do? I want you to focus on subscribers as your key metric, specifically email. And I'll get to that why, because you're already saying, email, are you kidding me, Joe? Why is Brian Clark's Copyblogger one of the fastest growing software as a service companies in B2B right now? Because they have over 200,000 email subscribers, all leveraging social media, but building the email where they actually have control to communicate that opt-in relationship. Think Money, here's a great print example. Think Money is the magazine of TD Ameritrade, large financial company, trading company. This magazine goes to traders who trade 100, 500, 1,000 times a day. So they're trading a lot, stocks and futures, all the time. The executive team at TD Ameritrade wanted to actually kill this magazine because it was print, and they said, we want to be an innovative company. We want to do digital. And the champion at TD Ameritrade says, no, this is working. It'll just wait, be patient. It'll come together. It took them 2 years to get the data. What did they find out? Those traders that subscribed to this magazine ended up trading 5 times more than those that don't. So do the math in your head, right? If they were trading 500 times, now they're trading 2,500 times. 1,000 times, now 5,000 times. That's ROI, folks. Now they're like, oh, we want to do more print. This is amazing. This is innovative. So don't discount print. Might be a good opportunity there. But this is all about subscribers. So here's my very sophisticated yay boo scale for subscriber hierarchy. Maybe my favorite thing that I talk about. Now, by the way, all these things on the left side, they're all good. None of these are bad over here. Like, for example, a Facebook fan, I love it when somebody follows me on Facebook. It doesn't do anything for my business, but I like it. It warms my heart. Let's say, how many of you have YouTube pages? Business YouTube pages. Okay, about a quarter of you have business YouTube pages. So let's say you work so hard on this business YouTube page and you create this video series and somebody subscribes to your video. And you're excited because you're like, oh, great, because the next time they go to YouTube, they're going to see your videos, right? Not really. Because you know what? YouTube's going to make the decision and say, well, I know that they subscribe to your content, but you know what really sells more advertising? That Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon does well, or maybe Ellen does really well, or Jimmy Kimmel, or whoever, or something about Trump. Doesn't matter. That's what they're going to sell. So even though you're building your audience there, they don't care. YouTube's trying to monetize their own platform. They're a private company. They can do what they want, right? So basically you have email and print and everything else is suspect. Twitter's going to be sold anytime. Those rules are going to change. I can guarantee you that. LinkedIn's has changed their mobile algorithm. All this stuff has changed. So even if you connect with people, you're not necessarily going to deliver information to them because it's up to these people, right? But you're saying, Joe, come on, email? Are you crazy? It's old technology. Not going to work well. Let me share with you BuzzFeed example. Now, I know you're a very sophisticated crowd. None of you engage in BuzzFeed content, but let's just say that you did. So, anybody see that BuzzFeed's latest quarterly revenues and profits? Anybody see this? I'm a weirdo when it comes to that stuff, so I read it through. They actually didn't do as well as they wanted to. Their revenue's down significantly. You know why it's down significantly? Somebody take a guess. Facebook is not distributing their content like they used to. All of BuzzFeed's audiences were built on social media, which were great a couple years ago, and now it's killing them. So the executive team at BuzzFeed is freaking out right now because they're like, our whole business model is based on what somebody else owns. This is terrible. So what are they doing? They're building lots and lots of email newsletters. For example, did you know that you can get an e-newsletter just on cats, which has to be the greatest e-newsletter ever, right? It's like 2 cats cuddling. I can't wait Monday morning. I'm going to get my e-newsletter on cats. All kinds of stuff. New York Times has doubled the amount of email newsletters that they've created. They're doubling down on email subscription. And you have to figure out a way. So you have to think about if you're creating a content platform, how are you going to drive email subscribers? So this is John Lee Dumas' example of Entrepreneur on Fire, the podcast. You go to his website. He doesn't even pull any punches. This is his website. This is his homepage. Sign up for Fire Nation. You get all kinds of resources. I need your email address. He wants your email so badly, he's not going to get, I mean, this is the kind of tactics, and it's like Google's come out with some things like these are acceptable, may not be, I don't know, it's all up in the air. All I know right now is email is critically important, and we've got to figure out a way to get there. So if you want to do this, you've got to do two things. One is you have to have an amazing e-newsletter. How many of you have amazing e-newsletters that absolutely your customers want to read? It's like, I can't wait to get it. Most of us don't. Right? Most of us don't have one. You have to, so when I get up in the morning, I'll go and go through all my emails through the night, and I usually go and hit, do you do this? Delete, 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 spam, no good, don't want any of that. But there's usually one or two that I keep, that I'm like, that's the one I'm going to read now or later. Do you do this? That's the one that you have to be. You have to be the one, because you can actually cut through, everybody talks about all the clutter in email. There's a lot of clutter, but you can break through that clutter if you have a quality piece of information that you're going to send them. So most of us are satisfied with 1% open rates. We can't be that way. We've got to get to the point where we're getting 20% plus open rates. And we can. The new New York Times email newsletters are at around 50 to 60% open rate. That's the type of thing that we're looking at. And you need an exchange of value, an ebook, a research report, white paper, whatever, tool, so that people will exchange their information and actually give you the right email address. Like, please stop spamming me at gmail.com. We don't want that. We want an actual real address to make it work. So email is critical, and every model we looked at was a critical piece of making this work. Now we diversify. Now we're going to diversify. Here's our own data from Content Marketing Institute. I don't know what your magic number is, but our magic number is 3. Which makes the case for diversification. What we found is that our best customers are subscribed to at least 3 things that we offer. They spend the most money with us. So what we do is when somebody signs up for our weekly email newsletter, we actually don't want to start hard selling them at that point. We don't want to put a lot of offers in front of them. What we want to do is we want to get them to sign up for Chief Content Officer, our magazine, get them signed up for This Old Marketing, our podcast, sign up for our Twitter chat, whatever the case is. The other subscription options, because we know that we got to get them to 3. That's when they become sticky. That's when they become loyal subscribers. That's why we diversify. So we're making the case for that. All right, let's go back to our friend, Andy. Chicken Whisperer, right? He builds the whole model. He does the platform thing, the 30,000 podcast listeners. Now he's at a point where, okay, now I'm going to diversify. Now I built the audience. I'm going to diversify. Of course, the #1 magazine on backyard poultry, The Chicken Whisperer, comes out, really popular magazine. And of course, he has the #1 in this category, Chicken Whisperer's Guide to Keeping Chickens, Everything You Need to Know About Backyard Poultry. #1 on Amazon. There's only 2 in the group on Amazon, but it's the #1 in the category. So that's how Andy did it, right? Everybody familiar with Moz? So Rand Fishkin, SEO Moz, they started a blog, consistent blog, built over 100,000 subscribers. Then they started to diversify. Whiteboard Friday. If you're into SEO and you don't watch Whiteboard Friday, you're missing out. This is every Friday this one goes out. Then started MozCon, their in-person event. So you can see it can be print, it can be event. This is what all media companies have done since the dawn of time. But you have to build a loyal audience first and then diversify. Most of us diversify too quickly. All right? And by the way, content in companies grow faster. We talked about this. Who would not like to be Moz that goes from 450,000 in 2007 to now over a $40 million company really quickly? Again, they had the database first. They were willing to buy. They'll buy anything from Moz because they've been building that loyal relationship over time, sending them amazing information. Right? All right. Oh, by the way. So this is up here because this is exactly what we did at Content Marketing Institute. 36 months was just a blog. And then in January of 2011, we launched Chief Content Officer magazine. Then we launched Content Marketing World, our event, in September. And then we launched This Old Marketing, the podcast, 2 years later. So you don't do it all at one time. Do it one at a time as you diversify. Now, you're probably saying, this is all great, Joe, but I need money. I need to actually drive some revenue. So now we're going to monetize. Now we build a loyal audience. We can actually monetize the platform. This is the critical question. So all the technology that's here that you're going to end up buying, this is what we want to look at. What's the difference between those who subscribe to my content and those that don't? That's it. What's the difference? Do those subscribers that are engaging my content, do they buy more? Do they stay longer? Are they happier customers? Do they talk more favorably about my company? That's actually pretty easy. You can do that. Once you get the subscriber database, you match it up against your CRM system. That's it. You just have to build the audience first. And most of us don't get there, right? You can do it a lot of different ways. What we're seeing a lot of big companies do, like Pepsi and Mondelez, they're actually generating direct revenue. They're selling sponsorships, advertising events. Look at Red Bull Media House. Of course, that's exactly what they did. They're a media company within Red Bull. But what are we trying to do? Increase product sales, more loyal customers? Are we doing it through data? What are we doing? What was the furrow? How did they monetize? John Deere customers come back. They created more loyal customers. They keep John Deere customers over time. That's what the furrow does. How did Copyblogger do it? They sold new products and services. They built the audience. They know, like, and trust Copyblogger. They ended up selling more content management system services off of that. What did Think Money do? They created better customers. Great, that's a current customer. Now we've got a customer that's buying more because we're setting this. So you have to think about what's the goal, what are we trying to do, and how can we make this work? I know we're running out of time here, but I want to say this. This is the biggest trend that you will see over the next 12 months. You can absolutely build this. Be patient. It will take time, but a lot of companies are buying. So you're going to see over the next 12 months more and more companies that go out and buy media companies because they have a lot of cash and they're very impatient. And I think it's a huge opportunity right now. Adorama, photography supply store, went and bought JPEG magazine, 300,000 photography enthusiasts. HubSpot, they had a sales blog, a marketing blog. They wanted an agency blog. What did they do? They went out and bought Agency Post magazine. UBM, who runs this event, sold their electronics media assets to Arrow Electronics, a Fortune 150 company. Arrow said, hey, in some cases we're going to grow organically a content brand, and in other cases we're going to buy, and they've absolutely been doing that. And one of the largest, the electronics media company in that industry is not a media company. It's Arrow, right? So what I want you to do is build value before you extract that value from the audience. Give them so much value that they absolutely want to do business with you. And here's the question, and the whole thing get back to, are you really doing content marketing? Are you just creating a lot of content? Is it really making an impact? Or are you taking a content marketing approach? Because if you're not committed to this and you're not going to build an audience, I'd rather you not create all that content in the first place. Don't waste your time. Take the right direction, really focus, and be meaningful to your customers. It really works. All right, takeaways and we're done. Find a niche where you can be the leading expert in the world. Develop your content marketing mission statement. Focus on one content type, one platform. Deliver consistently over time. Don't build your house on rented land. Be careful with social media. Build an audience of opt-in subscribers, but you need an amazing e-newsletter, remarkable download to do it. Then we diversify. Focus on what your subscribers do differently. What's the behavior change? And for the love of God, please be patient. If you want more information on this, go to thestoryofcontent.com. It is a documentary all about selling your executives on the idea of content. Did everyone get your one thing? Did anyone get more than one thing? Thank you. Hopefully I've exceeded your expectations. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you.
As I said, event of the year. Except maybe for content marketing world.
No, it's okay. Second best.
Now, we've got about 5 minutes, I think, for questions. There must be some questions from the audience.
Before you go off,
Raise your hand if you've got any.
who's got a question? Let's do it.
There?
All right. Got somebody coming over here?
Hi, I actually work in a retail space where we don't promote loyalty. It's kind of a one buy, then move on. So we're always looking to recruit. So a lot of our content, which we don't do because it's really bad, so we just don't do it.
Okay.
So looking at a content strategy to move on, we don't want to promote loyalty, believe it or not.
Okay.
But we need to drive interest and brand awareness.
So basically, instead of looking at the whole buyer's journey, which you could do, what you have this great awareness experience you could create, or a great loyalty experience, or a point of purchase experience. Those are the three that I really look at. Then you might just say, all we're trying to do is build this amazing awareness experience. So just focus on that part of the buyer's journey, and then you don't have to worry about the loyalty side, which I would love to know what your model is, because that makes no sense to me, but that's okay. We want to actually...
Any questions from this audience?
Questions in the back? Hi.
How mature do you think the content marketing sector field is?
How mature?
At the very beginning,
Okay.
or,
So the discipline itself, the practice is actually over 300 years old. I'm not even going to get into that model with it. But from a maturity standpoint, I would say that we are maybe 30, 40% of the way home. So everybody's creating content, so everybody thinks, oh my God, the content marketing is but when most of the companies are doing it wrong. They're actually, that's why we've had we actually went into an area called the trough of disillusionment, if you look at the Gartner cycle, because there's so many people that are just like, hey, I'm done because it's not working for me, because they never created a strategy, they never did it right. Now, the ones that are doing it right will be okay, but I think that there's still a huge, huge opportunity that I've never seen before right now. So it's really the sweet spot at this point. Yeah, thank you. Hold on, let everybody listen.
You mentioned that the upcoming trend is to focus from build to buy.
Yes, so building and, yeah.
But it seems to be difficult sometimes to find the right kind of platform to buy
Okay,
for certain kinds of businesses and business models.
Yes.
And mission statements, which still makes it quite interesting to build, I think. What's your view on that?
so basically the question was build versus buy. If I'm you, this is what I'm doing. For your target audience that you're going after, you should be making a list of competitive sites. Like, okay, here's the tilt we have, here's the differentiation, and here's all the other sites that try to do the same thing. By the way, if it's more than 10, you're probably not niche enough. So let's say that it's 5 to 10. Now, instead of putting all these resources into building it, you should at least look at, okay, is it a blogger site? Is it an influencer site? Is it a media site? You could say, you've got content there, you've got subscribers there. You should at least do due diligence and see if that's a possibility. If you're media companies do that naturally. Before we ever launch a product, we always look at purchasing one because you can get there faster to the market, right? So just do it. And then if you decide, oh, okay, I'm not going to buy those, but maybe you can partner with those, or you can learn something of them. It's just part of the audit process that you should need to be going through that anyways, and then you can ask yourself that question. All I'm saying is, it's going to happen, folks. Get used to it, where you're going to start seeing all these weird transactions happen where these big brands are buying media companies, and you're going to say, hey, Joe said it was going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. Big opportunity there.
And one more, I think.
One more. A question right there?
I work for an NGO and we produce a massive amount of content, whether we want it or not.
Whether you want to or not?
Well, we produce a massive amount
Okay.
of content, whether we want it or not, because it's one of our deliverables towards the Commission, the European Commission.
Okay.
So we are obliged. How do we take at least part of that content and transition to a content marketing approach? Is it possible?
Well, the first thing, if you're doing stuff already, you can keep doing that, but at least step back and do an audit. Just look and say, okay, what's working, what's not. First of all, how do you define success? So I would need to know what's the behavior change at the end of all that content. What are we trying to do? And are we hitting that? And then you can say, okay, this type of content is working, this type of content isn't. So at least you can start to say, this isn't working, we should stop doing these things. Because so the average large enterprise delivers content to 16 different channels per audience. That's amazing. That's way too many. I think it needs to be much less than that. I would like you to be a master of some of these channels and a jack of all trades. So all I would say right now is don't have to stop. If you have to do what you have to do, I get it. But let's at least figure out what's not working and stop doing those. And then we can take all that energy and put it into the stuff that's working. All right. Thank you very much. That was fun.